Hello and welcome to episode 282 of the Wisdom in the Tangents podcast. I'm your host, John Mansfield. If you're new around here, welcome. I'm glad you're here. Thank you for pressing play. I am a wedding and commercial photographer and business coach. I help photographers and creative entrepreneurs like yourself to grow their business, build community, and create the lifestyle that they've always dreamed of. And part of that is through this podcast. Today, I have an episode where I'm on the other side of the microphone and Nathan Chansky is in the host chair. I loved this conversation with Nate. He was on the podcast way back in like episode 137, but I was on his podcast, the Passion with Purpose podcast, a few years ago, and I wanted to share that conversation with y'all. There is no video because this was a few years ago, but it was a really great conversation about serving our clients instead of selling. Instead of always looking for the upsell, always trying to sell your clients this and that, rather speaking to them in a way of this package, this collection, this offer would serve you in the way that you're needing. And it really takes the selling kind of sleaziness feeling out of it. So yeah, we get into a lot of different things. Really great conversation. You should definitely go check out Nate with his podcast. Like I said, Passion with Purpose. He is still going years later as well. And he's got, I think he has his business blueprint, the 6-figure coaching program for photographers that he does, which is amazing. Believe that enrollment is coming open this summer too. So if you're listening to this in the first month or two that it comes out, you should be able to get in on that too. But anyway, let's get into my conversation with Nathan Chansky on his podcast.
You're listening to Nathan Chansky, and this is the Passion with Purpose podcast. On today's episode, I'm talking with John Mansfield from All Heart Photography, all about having a service mindset over a selling mindset. So if you've ever struggled with the sleazy car salesman version of selling, this episode is the perfect response to that. And we just go over a completely different mindset from that I think so many people can benefit from. So if you don't know John lives to create time with his family. He is an amateur chef, a coffee snob, a wedding and portrait photographer, of course, and a business coach with a passion for relationships and a mission to make the world a better place. He hosts the Light and Dark Photography podcast, and if he could, he would almost always be immersed in nature. All right, my friends, let's just cut to the chase. Let's dive into the episode and talk all things serving over selling with John Mansfield. All right, John, welcome to the show. So happy to have you here today.
Yes, thank you. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to chat with you. I'm super pumped. I've been looking forward to this for
I love it. I love it. Me too. Okay, so for those of people out there that don't know you, that don't know what you're about and kind of your background, I would just love to hear, for their sake, kind of who are you? What makes you tick? How did you get to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's so many things that make me tick. The business side of things, how did I get to where I am today in my business? It all started back in my college years. I had a job at a wedding venue. It was one of the many jobs that I had. And on the weekends, I would help out, do things. And one time I brought my camera along because the venue just had these terrible photos on their website. And I was like, I can take better photos.
Right.
I'm not a photographer, but I will take a couple, give them to the owner. And they loved them. And they had a couple that was looking for a super budget photographer. And they're like, hey, John, he's got a camera. He takes decent photos.
Yeah.
And I shot a 10-hour wedding day for $200. And
wow.
loved it. I was
Wow.
like, this is $20 an hour. This is so much more than I'm getting paid from you guys. Yeah. And then that just kind of like spurred my love for photography and for couples and weddings, and just went into that career a couple of years later after doing a couple weddings. Was like, all right, this is it for me.
Yeah.
I want to do this for a living. Like, I love this. And then started that. That was 2013.
Okay.
And like my whole, like, from high school age, I wanted to have a career that would allow me to spend the maximum amount of time that I could with my family, which obviously I didn't have one at 17 years old. But yeah, that's what I was searching for, and that's what I was looking for. And then photography fit that to where I could do that and work from home, and that's what I'm doing. I'm at my house right now. I love it.
Yeah, that's so cool. So did you always have like a love for photography, or was it something that, again, like kind of only came out of like a circumstance, like you said?
Kind of out of a circumstance. I mean, I always loved documenting things. I was the kid at all the parties and everything that had my camera, and it was like one of those really terrible point and shoots. It was like 8 megapixels because that was top of the line back then.
Yeah.
And yeah, I was always taking pictures of my friends and of my pets, and of just like animals around. And then that just kept going. I always had a camera, whether film or digital or something, throughout my life.
That's so cool. Okay, so I would love to just dive right in and talk a little bit about your perspective on selling. And I know that you have a unique view on it, and you kind of believe that there's a serving mentality that goes along with selling. And yeah, I'd just love to understand like where you got that from and just what your ideas behind that are.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, it came from a few different avenues and different people and books and things. One of the mindsets that I really had to like overcome in order to get to this was the mindset of like the poverty mindset, where I was always worried about I always just like looking back, I picture myself just like guarding my little bit of money that I had. And I was like, no, I'm not going to spend it on this. I'm not going to go out to eat. I'm not going to do this. Cause I was worried about if I could replace that money.
Interesting. Yeah.
And like that stemmed from my childhood and growing up. Like we were pretty poor. We lived near the poverty line. We didn't have a lot. And it was that kind of led into my adult life where I was afraid of making big purchases. And like I would project that onto my clients, where whenever I was talking to them about hiring me as a photographer, I would project that, and I'm like, oh, but they're probably thinking this is too expensive or not worth it. So I didn't really want to sell to them because I was worried that they would be like disappointed or not feel like they got enough value out of hiring me. And it was just like this whole thing. It was weird whenever I first learned that about myself, and that I still held on to that poverty mindset. I was like, that makes so much sense. It was insane. And like it often led to me offering discounts or undervaluing my work, not pricing myself where I needed to be. Like I used to just pride myself that people were always like, you need to charge more money. Like we are getting you at a steal. And I was like, that's right, you are. And I felt like pride in that I was able to provide more value to them, but I was like shooting myself in the foot because I wasn't really, I definitely wasn't bringing in enough to keep a business sustainable.
Yeah. Absolutely. So it's really funny because I feel like I've heard a lot of this spoken before by a lot of students I coach. And even like I kind of dealt with this when I first started is I think a lot of people think to themselves like, oh, well, I'm not worth this amount of money, or I can't like deliver on this much amount of money, or like I feel pressured when if I were to get this amount of money. Or one thing I've heard a lot is I just want to bless these people. Almost like I want to bless everybody. And it almost stems back to, I think, a mindset that is like, do you think you could actually book them? Or are you just like, is it kind of like a subconscious fix, like a smoothing things over to say like, oh, I just want to bless them? Anyway, I would just love to know like your thoughts on all those things, and like, what would you say to a person that's kind of saying those types of things?
You're absolutely talking about me. That was me, like using the word blessed and everything. Like
Yeah.
I remember when I first raised my prices over $1,000, I was like, no one is going to book me.
Right.
This is insane. Who would spend this much? But I wanted to, I wanted to provide more value than what I was charging. So I was like, okay, I want to give them the best that they can get, which
Yeah.
is a good thing to do. I'm not saying don't do that. Definitely
Right.
do that. Give your best. But I would do that to my own detriment and be like, okay, well, I'm definitely worth X amount of money, so I'm going to charge like half of that in order to bless them. And like really, people need great photos in all budget ranges, and I'm just going to be the low budget person.
Yep.
And bless all of these people. So yeah, I definitely came from that. So I would say to that person and to my past self, that you are worth more than that, and you can serve them better when you are being taken care of too, instead of like being the martyr and like, oh well, I'm gonna have to eat ramen again for every meal this month, but I'm blessing all of these people, and putting yourself there, but you can actually walk through with them and be paid for what you do, equal to what you should be charging.
Yeah. And why do you think, so let me go back to kind of when you said, but everybody deserves good photos, or everybody needs good photos, even if you're not in a more affluent tax bracket. And like, I guess, like, what would you say to somebody? Because I mean, you make a point in terms of like, I feel like everybody deserves the best as humans, as like, just as human beings. But at the same time, what would you say to the person who's like, I just want to bless them? Because I hear that thing thrown around, that phrase thrown around all the time, and I know that that's truly not blessing them for me to drain myself. Right. So I guess, like, what would you say to all that?
Yes, that's exactly it. You hit it. Like, that is draining you. Whenever you are undervaluing what you're providing, that just leads straight to burnout, which is where I was. 2017 hit hard. And it was probably my first year that I hit like 25, 30 weddings that year. And I felt the burnout. And the blessings that I was giving weren't really blessings, because I was burnt out and they were not even receiving what they paid for. Just because I couldn't provide the standard that I was providing before, when I wanted to be a blessing, and I wanted to like go above and beyond and over deliver. I was under delivering because I was burnout and I wasn't taking care of myself, because I was trying to, be this blessing to other people.
Absolutely. That's so good. And I think right when you said that, like, you're like, I wasn't actually blessing anybody. That's the truth of it, isn't it? I mean, like, there's certain times, I mean, I came to a point where it was like, okay, if I'm put out of business because of how many people I'm quote unquote blessing, and then I'm not profiting in my business, then I can't bless anybody if I'm out of business.
Exactly.
So I really am not like quote unquote blessing everybody through all these things, because I'm burning myself out, the very like lifeblood of my business, like the person behind it. And so you have to keep it all in perspective. And I think, there's a question I was going to ask you on this, but basically something to the extent of like, if someone wants maybe at a lower price, and then you get them up to like a higher price, how would you look at that in terms of like, ooh, but aren't you like, does that make you greedy? Does that make you like money hungry? Or like, what is that?
Yeah. So I used to have the mindset of, if I do that, if they come to me saying I have, this budget that only goes up to this amount, but I know in order to book with me, they're going to have to go above that. I felt like that sleazy like car salesman from like the 80s movies, and just like trying to oversell whatever it is. It's like, I know that this is what you need, but I'm going to sell you, 5 steps higher. And it felt like that because I didn't know how to sell. And all that I knew about selling was, this is what I have, and I'm just going to talk to you about it and pitch myself. And then hopefully you will see the value in it and we can move forward. But it definitely felt kind of like slimy, the way of upselling and saying like, oh, actually you're going to need more hourly coverage than this, and don't you want an album, and don't you want this, and just like adding on, and it wasn't really until I actually read a book, speaking of albums, I read a book called The Stack by Sean Austin Gordon. He's the CEO and co-founder of Kiss Books, and they make amazing albums. But in the book he talked about how selling can sometimes feel sleazy. Paraphrasing, of course. I don't know if you use the word sleazy. That's just mine. But like, whenever you believe that what you're offering is the best option for your leads, for your clients, and that they would be just blessed. I mean, they would be blessed to hire you at your price. It's doing them a disservice if you don't share that service with them.
That's so good. And I think that's what it comes down to. I mean, like, you can't sell. Okay, you can, but it kind of sucks to do so. Like, it's so hard to sell a product that you don't yourself believe in. And I think so often photographers try to do that, and that's when they get themselves into trouble, because they're like, I don't believe in the gear I have. I don't believe in the business workflow I have. I don't believe in my client experience. I don't believe in like my organization. I don't believe in my backup system. Like, I don't believe in the education I'm giving myself. Like, they truly don't believe in all of these things. And it's like, well, no wonder it's so hard for you to sell, because ultimately, like, sometimes it's even, you're asking people to invest so much money into a business that you actually won't invest in first, or whether it's time either. You know what I'm saying? So there's like so many parts of that go into play. And so you have to get to the point where you're like, I so fundamentally believe in my product, like you said, to the point where I feel like, I think you said, I'm doing them a disservice if they were to not go with me. Like, almost like I feel bad for you if you go with somebody else, if you go with a photographer down the road, I feel bad for you now.
Yes. And that's exactly it, is like, you are the best option for them. Which also, on the flip side of that, sometimes you'll meet with clients and you're on the discovery call and you're like, we are not a good fit. And I am not the best person for you. That happens all the time with me. I am not bright and airy, and I know that is still a very trendy trend right now. And there are couples that come to me and I'm like, have you seen my website? Like, and they're talking to me about how they want everything bright and airy. I'm like, I am not your person. Like, I would love to work with you. Y'all seem amazing. This would be fun. But I don't think you're going to be satisfied with the end product whenever I'm delivering a more moody look than what you're talking to me about. And that is a hard place to get to. When you can say, no, I don't think we're a good fit.
Yeah, that's so good. It's like, I have people sometimes reach out and they show me their venue, and their venue is like all indoor, like the whole thing. And then there's not a single window of natural light. And I'm like, I got to be honest with you. Like, I'm good with a flash, but I'm not like going to be lighting your entire, like, I'm a natural light photographer through and through. Like, I just think someone else would be better. So yeah, I love that you say that. It's kind of more, again, like that service mentality. So that's like super practical. Is there any other kind of more like practical tips you can give maybe another photographer out there who's like, okay, well, like, how do I get in this service mentality, and how do I get to trying to actually serve who they are and like what they need, instead of just trying to sell every single client that comes across my desk?
Yeah. I mean, I think it is learning who they are and what they need. and like actually listening to them. And that was a big thing for me on discovery calls. I used to just talk and talk and talk. And I was like, let me tell you about what I can do for you. And I was just like going through my whole spiel. And I had like this thing written out, and it was paragraphs long of, this is how you're going to feel on your wedding day. This is what I'm going to do to make this feel good. And, that you'll be comfortable in front of the camera. And this is what it looks like working with me. And, I never listened to them to hear what it is they're actually looking for in their photographer. So listen to your clients and ask them questions. My discovery calls now are mostly me just asking questions and then asking follow-up questions.
I love it. What's some good questions you ask?
Well, I mean, there's like the how did you meet? How did they propose? All that kind of stuff, which everyone asks. If you don't have a follow-up question for that, don't ask it. So like follow-up questions are mine are like, oh wow, like tell me more, or that's amazing. Why like I'll ask like what they love doing together. What is an ideal date night or vacation or something? And then they'll tell me, and then I'm like, okay, that's really cool. Y'all like hiking. Why? And then that gets deeper into, we feel in tune with nature. And then we can go even further down there, and I can tell some stories about, getting lost in the mountains in Colorado and that kind of stuff, and like build that connection with them. But asking things like that, ask, what they're excited about their wedding day and why they're excited about that and all that. And that leads, like it kind of leads you to these little nuggets of, they mentioned family here. Like we can talk about how I'm not just going to take pictures of the two of you for 10 hours on your wedding day to where you have 1,000 photos of just the two of you, like paparazzi. Instead, I'm going to be looking at these relationships and, I want to know names of your grandparents and what you call them. And then, hear about those relationships of like, I haven't seen my grandmother in 3 years because we moved out of state, but she's going to be there at the wedding. Like, I'm getting pictures of that. Like, I want to keep that in my mind. So whenever I see them near each other, I'm taking photos of that.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah. That's actually something I've never heard another photographer talk about, is like asking those very personal detail questions, because that's something you can do even in the discovery call, but you can also do that. Like, I don't know if everybody meets with their clients before their wedding, but like I always love meeting with my clients before their wedding and making sure that we're all on the same page with like timeline and whatnot. But I have so many other questions I ask. Those would be perfect to interject. Like, hey, like who's going to be there that's so important to you? Who is going to, like, I don't know, is there any like particular non-conventional photos that you really want me to capture because of the person and their relationship with you or something like that? I think that is such an incredible tool. I mean, that's not necessarily selling when you're asking it then, but at the same time, like that's so helpful to like deliver an incredible client experience,
Yeah, absolutely. And that is what sticks with them. And they'll remember that. And, referrals are huge in this business. And that's what people remember is like, they took the time to get to know me, and they, wanted to know who was important to me in my life. It's like, I'll ask them for different family members' names and things for like those formal photos after the ceremony, but also just like, who are some people you're excited to see? And it was like, we have this group from college, and like all my sorority sisters are going to be there. Cool. We're going to do like a fun photo of all of y'all doing your tri-delt whatever hand symbols, and like it'll be cool. And just taking that extra time to really get to know them and know what's important to them, that's going to stick with them, and that's going to provide way more value than you ever could in some sort of, pre-written pitch that you're going to go over.
Do you think sometimes we as photographers we emphasize, but I think sometimes because we're artists, we almost overemphasize like what we want to get out of the shoot, or like our our vision. And like, I think it's good to put ourselves in the expert seat, of course.
Yes.
But do you think sometimes we overemphasize like our voice in those types of calls and like what we're looking for and like,
100%. Yeah. Yes, all the time. And I still do that. I still catch myself where I'm just like talking about, pulling up their venue online while we're talking, just like, oh, and this doorway would be amazing. Like I could get y'all like backlit. We could silhouette over this. I see that's, facing this way. Sunset's going to be amazing. And like going through all that gets me really excited for photos, because weddings are very, very standard. They're for the most part, they're the same things happening with different people at different times.
Sure.
But the creative stuff, the working with different lighting and silhouettes are like my jam. I love putting them in a cool place with a silhouette. But like that kind of stuff does get me excited. And I will still talk to that in a discovery call, but I try and tone that down a little bit. Like I want them to know that I'm also excited, or like if I've shot at their venue before, I can talk about, first looks are really great around this corner, or down this hallway or something, to be more of like a resource to them and provide value on either the venue or just about even providing value on what collection they should go with.
Yeah.
And instead of just like pitching the highest one, like, well, this one is all day coverage and we can also, fly to Paris for your engagement shoot and all that's included. But really talking to them, from those earlier questions, getting to know them and getting to know about their wedding day through their eyes and what's important to them. I can kind of see later on in the conversation, maybe getting ready photos aren't as important as the dance floor, because you've talked about how y'all are, dancers, and a lot of your friends are dancers, and y'all are just going to, tear up the floor. You're going to want those photos through the end of the night.
Yep.
So that's going to be, maybe you don't want me there 5 hours before the ceremony, but you might want me there for the after party.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I just love to know kind of your take on this. Like when you have maybe multiple packages that you offer for clients, are you always trying to upsell them, or are you more confident in selling like, hey, which one's right for you?
For sure, which one's right. And there are times that, I'm always going for like the middle package. That's ideal. If I can book all middle packages, I'm a happy John over here. Just like, all right, cool, we're good. And sometimes it is the lower package. I have one that's just like 6 hours in an engagement shoot.
Yeah.
No second photographer. It's just me. There's no album. There's no photo booth. There's no add-ons. It's just like, that's bare bones. That's the minimum that's going to get me out on a Saturday. And sometimes talking to them, listening to what their wedding is going to be like and where they're having it in the timeline of the day. Sometimes 6 hours is all that they need. And I don't want to oversell and like push them, because that kind of goes back to that like sleazy car salesman of, like I picture like an old, elderly woman coming in who's just like, she's single. She's just needing a car to drive to church and to drive to the grocery store. Yeah. And like, you can sell her a reliable sedan. Cool. That's great. That's what she needs.
Yeah.
Or you can try and upsell and get like this convertible sports car, and I'm going to get a good commission off of this.
Yeah.
But that's not what she needs.
Right.
And she might buy that because she trusts you as a professional. But later on, she's going to be like, these monthly payments are insane. And this is not what I needed. It felt good at the time because the guy was like, man, the wind in your hair, it's going to feel so good. But then once they get to it, it's more of a burden than it is an excitement.
Yeah, and that's an incredible analogy. It's like literally the grandma doesn't need that. Like why? Yeah. And she's going to really have a bad feeling. Like then you're going to have the sleazy car salesman feeling in your head because you're like, okay, this is not what I needed. I just got upsold. I think it's so funny too, because I think that just kind of tag off what you said, I think that it also goes into play for kind of like there's certain things that we want to sell almost, but you almost have to find the balance between what you want to sell and what like actually works for people. So it's really funny because I sometimes ask around whether people like what people's packages are. And like you said, your 6 hour is like so totally right for certain people, which is amazing.
Mhm.
I find that like my 6 hour package is actually I hate booking it. And the reason I hate booking it is because I actually don't think it serves anybody, like my clients at least. I don't think it
Mhm.
serves my clients very well, or it hasn't. There's maybe been like one or two weddings ever historically who've ever booked a 6 hour package and it's gone well. Usually it just feels like an 8 hour day that's like rushed.
Yeah, just packed
Yeah.
into 6 hours. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I'm actually for 2023, I'm like, I think I'm going to get rid of the 6 hour package, not because I'm like, oh, I just want to like be only booking 8 hours or above and like get that much money. I'll
Mhm.
probably, frankly, add a 4 hour package because I find a lot of my clients, some of them need only 4 hours. Like they're doing a very intimate wedding and they only need four. But like for some reason, six hasn't been working. So I'm like, I'm going to get rid of it. So I think it comes down to like the freedom you're giving everybody right now of just like,
Yeah.
hey, like do what works for them, not what always works for you. And especially like your bank account, like be much
Uh-huh.
more concerned with them. And like, this is their freaking wedding day. Like make sure you're prioritizing them over all else. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. And I love that like that's different for us because it's
Yeah.
going to be different for everyone. And it's different for every clientele. Like some people, 4 hours is like a sweet spot.
Yeah.
And that's going to be great for a lot of weddings. And I also had removed 6 hours a few years ago because I was like, a lot of these are just they're feeling rushed because it's like,
Yeah.
all right, I get here and oh, you're already dressed. Okay, cool. And we're going to the first look. And that works for some people. And I always like I just shot a wedding this past weekend. That was like that, where I arrived, bride's already in her dress.
Yeah.
And but we had talked before and she was like, I don't care about getting
Yep.
ready photos. I don't care about like my mom zipping me up in my dress and all of that. She was like, what I care about is first look with my husband, and I care about the rest of the reception because
Yeah.
that's where I'm going to be going around and meeting people. And I was like, that's cool. If you don't care about that, like we're
Yep.
still going to get a few getting ready photos because I know you're going to want at least a little bit of that day covered, but it still worked out for them and it didn't feel rushed because we had talked about it. If they were like, we want, all this getting ready, like hair and makeup and everything and first look, and we're doing this and, ceremonies at a different location than the reception. I'm like, okay, hold up. 6 hours is not going to work. 8 hours
Yeah.
is going to be tight anyway. But yeah, like you were saying, like it's different for everyone and learning what most of your clients go with and what serves them best will kind of structure those pricing collections too. And see 6 hours is not cutting it for anyone.
Yep.
So I'm just going to cut it and we're going to go for 4 or 8 or more.
Yep.
And I think that's really great and really something that you should be doing regularly. I try and look at my pricing structure every 6 months to a year and just like, is this still working? Or do I need to change this up a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. And then it does work on both ends. I mean, let's say you're in a position where you have a client that wants to book you at like a 6 hour package. And then you're like, oh, but I feel bad upselling them to 8 hours. But then you know that like they do need 8 hours. And so it's like, hey, this isn't necessarily for you to just make more money. But it's like once you get to the actual wedding day, you know that they're going to want those 8 hours covered. And you know that on your end as an artist for them, you're going to feel much more relaxed. You're going to have more creativity. You're going to have more energy if you're not just stressed about, the rushing it. And so it's going to be on both ends, like benefiting you. And even like conversely, if you are trying to sell them a 10-hour package, then they only need 6 hours. It's going to be pretty freaking awkward to be there for like 10 hours and be like, yeah, just kind of twiddling your thumbs when like they don't actually need those photos. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And then they're going to be like, you told me that I needed more, and now you're just like sitting around and drinking coffee. Like, what's going on? There's a disconnect here.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's that being in tune with what their needs are, and then providing what they need.
Yep. Absolutely. Do you think that there's any common like pitfalls that photographers fall into when they are forgetting to serve instead of sell? Excuse me, other way around. When they're forgetting to wait, I don't know what I said.
When they're forgetting to serve instead of sell. Yes.
I did say it right.
You said it correctly, yeah. But both of us were just like, wait, what?
And I was like, wait a minute, I don't know if that makes sense. Sorry, I can't speak English.
It's the different negatives in there. Yes, there are definitely some easy pits to fall into when you're forgetting to serve instead of wait. Yes,
I know it is confusing. Okay. We know what you're trying to say. We know what we're both trying to say.
Everyone, follow us along. But yeah, there's an easy pit to fall into is like whenever you're the one expressing all the value that you would give them if they hired you, like quote unquote selling. So you're there pitching all of these things instead of allowing them to recognize the value for themselves.
Yeah.
And then tell you. Like one of the things that I do is I mentioned this earlier. I ask a bunch of questions, and that is a way that you can allow them to actually say and recognize that value for themselves.
Yeah.
So I'll ask them like, what drew them in about my photography? What were they, why did they want to work with me? And then they'll talk about my creativity, or everyone seemed so natural, or something, whatever it is that stood out to them. And that's allowing them to say that instead of me saying, well, my photography is so natural and everyone feels so comfortable in front of my camera and you're going to love the creative eye that I have. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, sure. All the other photographers are saying the same thing, but whenever they say it, they'll actually believe it.
Yeah.
So like asking questions like that, or, why do you want to work with me? There are so many other people, like cameras are good. We've got iPhones now with amazing cameras on them. Like people can, there's someone out there with a nice camera that could take photos of your wedding for cheaper. Like, why are we talking?
Yeah.
Which is kind of a scary question to ask, because they could be like, you know what? You're right. My cousin does have a good camera.
Right.
Which is great. They're not the client for you.
Right.
But that allows them to think, why are we talking?
Yeah.
We're talking because this is what I saw in your photography. This is you've already shown up as a resource for me. And I know that you're going to be a professional and know how to handle a wedding day, know how to handle us in front of the camera. And it's not going to be that awkward, like, oh, hey, why don't we try this? Or like put your hands here, and like that awkwardness of, not knowing what to do and how to guide them. So allowing them to say what it is that they value and what they see in working with you is gonna sell much better than you trying to sell.
I think sometimes, John, we get very worried that we're ever gonna misstep or say something that's not salesy enough, and then we just we almost we lock up, and then we don't actually we become like this sales robot instead of hey, actually just sell like you would to a best friend. Actually just tell them what ask them these questions and then tell them the answers. You don't have to overcomplicate all of it. And I think sometimes it's when we get in that robotic, I have to be the right salesperson, I have to say the right slick-tongued thing. Yes. That's when we fall into those pitfalls. And even when you were talking a little bit about hey, sometimes you're not going to have you're basically not going to know what's going to put them over the edge. They're going to know that. They're going to have the things in their head to get them over the edge. The reason they reached out to you is probably going to be the reason they book with you. Ask them those type of questions, or even sometimes getting back to okay, let's say you even ask them a question like you just said, where you were kind of hey, what makes a professional like me your best option there are other options. Like, we all know this. Like, why aren't you going? Because I think a lot of people would be really scared to ask that. Like you said, it's like, whoa, like you're almost making a case for going against you.
Right.
But the thing is, it almost opens an opportunity psychologically for them to be like, oh, wait, I have to convince myself into doing this because I know I do want to do this. Like, he's not convincing me anymore. And like, I have to convince myself now, which is always more powerful than you convincing them over and over again, like a bat over the head. You know what I'm saying?
Yes. Right. Yeah. Just like, here, give me your money. I will do this for you. It's going to be good. Like, promise. Just trust me. And it's like, there's a quote from Maya Angelou that I love, and I can never get it correct. I'm going to try and remember this. I always get it like out of order, but it's, she said, I've learned that people will forget what you said and people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel.
Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. Is when you have that bat and you're trying to bash them over the head with all the things that you're going to be amazing at and, you know, why they should hire you, they're going to remember that and they're going to remember how that felt. But whenever you're asking them what they're excited about and asking them what about your photography excites them and gets them ready, like to step in front of your camera and all of that, that's what they're going to remember is how you made them feel. And they're going to feel valued and they're going to feel like you desired connection with them instead of just, hey, I've got 3 calls today and I'm just wanting to put you on my calendar. So where can I send the deposit?
Yeah.
That kind of stuff.
Exactly. Do you think sometimes, this is a weirdly phrased question, but do you think that sometimes we're selling feelings in a way?
Oh yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at like commercial marketing, a lot of that is feelings based.
Yeah.
And selling feelings is not always a bad thing.
No.
When you have good intentions behind selling those feelings and making your creating those feelings for your clients. When it's a bad thing is whenever you're trying to like manipulate your
those
clients into feeling something that they're not naturally feeling. And, you know, because, I don't know why I'm thinking of like Coca-Cola or something. But like there are a lot of people, like I am not a big soda drinker. I'm a coffee drinker. I've got my iced coffee right here.
I love it.
But sometimes I'll see an ad for Coke and I'm just like, oh man, that polar bear does look very refreshed. And like, I'm feeling those feelings of like, maybe I want a Coke right now. I don't know. And like, when you're playing on people's feelings in a manipulative way, it's not good. That is not what you should be doing. And that's like this whole strategy of serving over selling is not to be manipulative to your clients and to pull out those emotions so that they make an emotional buy and then they're kind of stuck because they already sent you the deposit and they're like, oh, well, I don't feel like this anymore.
Yeah.
You're drawing on their true emotions and asking, like the whole power of asking questions is that you're allowing them to show the feelings that they already have instead of trying to create made up feelings that they might get in that discovery call and then not feel 2 weeks later, whenever they're like, ooh, yeah. So I'm not excited about working with them anymore.
Right. Yeah. And there's the reason I asked that is I remember when I was reading a book called Story Brand by Donald Miller.
Great book.
He talks about basically the fact that he's like, every brand is not selling a physical product. And he calls them external needs.
Yes.
He's like, you are most likely selling an internal need or I think he calls it philosophical need. So basically so again, like an external need would be the photos themselves, the photographer showing up at the wedding day. But the internal need is, you want to preserve your memories. You want to make sure you have like these moments with your family documented. So again, you can feel these feelings. It's like emotion. It's all these things that are, again, very intangible feelings that you're actually selling rather than just like the physical digital product, if that makes any sense. And so I always go back to that and I'm like, you can talk to a person until they're blue in the face about how your physical external how you can solve their external problem. But ultimately, until you're actually speaking to their internal needs and their internal problems, it is difficult to actually get to the root of like, what do you want? You know what I mean? How can I best serve you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And that's the difference between like not asking questions and asking questions. And because whenever you ask the questions, you get into that internal. And that's what they're going to give you. Other than whenever you're talking about like, these are going to be great photos to hang up in your, in your hallway. And you can talk about how you get these certain moments and all that. But whenever you speak to their internal problem, or not problem, but their internal motivators of, I want to see the connections between me and my guests and between me and my spouse. And like, I want to see that and feel that through the photos. That's what you're selling, is that feeling. And if you can come through on that and provide that for them, then that's a sell right there. They're going to throw their money at you because that's what they're wanting and that's what you can provide.
Yep, absolutely. Now, do you ever take this dimension of kind of like service over sales? Do you ever take this into past just the sales process, the inquiry process? Do you take it into your marketing at all, like before even people reach out?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, 100%. And like, instead of trying to sell my services through marketing and, social media, my website, all those kinds of things, I try to speak to my clients' pain points and their desires. So again, that internal motivation, I try and speak to that. The pain points, the things that they're afraid of, unflattering angles or poor quality images, or just like awkward interactions in front of the camera. Almost, 99% of the couples that I photograph are just like, we're so awkward in front of the camera. Like, you're going to have to guide us. I'm like, everyone is awkward.
Everyone says that.
That's why models get paid, because they're models. Like, they've trained to be comfortable in front of the camera.
Right.
And everyone is so awkward. So like, I speak to those pain points, and I also speak to their desires of, things that they're wanting, like to be comfortable, or to have a knowledgeable photographer who knows how to run around on the craziness of a wedding day when things are not always as the timeline says that it should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's so important. That's a good one to kind of speak to that pain point, because like so many couples say that when they reach out. Like, I feel like that's probably the most common inquiry response that people get is like, we're so awkward. And it's like, oh my gosh, I've worked with so many quote unquote awkward people. You will be just fine.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay. Something that I always love to ask, kind of like in closing, it's like a 2-part question. I'd love to know what you're super passionate about, both in your personal life and then in your professional life. And this could literally be anything you want to say.
Okay. I'm passionate. I feel like this is more of like a cliche answer. So I'll give the cliche one, which is true. It's not just, I'm very passionate about my family. I kind of mentioned that earlier about how this career path was one that I chose because I'd be able to work from home. And because I'd be able to, like, whenever I travel, my wife is going with me 90% of the time. And I get to take my kids with me to cool locations and photo shoots and stuff. And like, they go hang out while I have this hour or two photo shoot. And then we get to enjoy the rest of this little mini, 48-hour vacation. But yeah, like my family I'm very passionate about, but also, which we're kind of in spooky season right now, so I feel like this is appropriate. I'm very passionate about like horror and like thriller type movies.
No way.
Just like the good, the bad, the absolutely terrible. I love all of them. Not so much like the slasher type stuff, but the
Okay.
really good thriller, intense, like on the edge of your seat. There's like plot twists
Yeah.
and like I love the creepiness too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really love those.
You are a brave man. I swear, like those things freak the crap out of me, and I will not sleep after them. I just get so invested in them, and
Yeah.
then I like have such a big imagination that I just go crazy. But it's really funny because I used to be super into like the thriller ones. Like the horror is too much for me. Like when it's like literally just like chopping people up. But like
Yeah, I don't like that too much.
yeah, but the thriller ones are definitely like they keep you on the edge of your. I also feel like they're social. I don't know if it's like, I feel like it's social to watch those. Like you
Yeah.
actually like are very involved with the people sitting next to you. I don't know if that makes any sense.
Yes. Yeah. So there's one that I really liked that I saw. I mean, there's a couple, but one that I saw recently that I was expecting it to be more like scary than it was.
Okay.
But it was just kind of like a mind twist. I was just like, what is going on? And it just, things kept twisting. And then you were like, wait, was in like, it was great. It's called The Invitation. I think it's still on Netflix. That's where I watched it.
Okay.
But yeah, it's just like a group of people that come over for a dinner and then things happen. And I don't want to give away too much, but yeah, spoiler alert, things happen. And yeah, it doesn't have like a bunch of jump scares or like blood and gore and stuff, but it was one that afterwards I was like, I kind of want to watch that again.
Yeah.
Knowing what I know now.
Yeah.
Like I love plot twists. They are a fan fave for me.
I love it. That's awesome. Did you give us a professional? I
didn't. No, that was a very long personal one.
Okay. That was good.
Yeah. Professionally, I'm really passionate right now about like learning more about people's psyche, like why we do the things that we do. And getting to better connect with people and to learn more about people.
Yeah.
And also like with branding and like the psychology of color palettes and that kind of stuff. I'm just like, there's so much that I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like moves us through life that we're not consciously thinking about, but that our like psyche just kind of like picks up on.
Yep. Like the human brain is so intricate and has so many facets to it. I feel like I can never get enough of just exploring like what makes humans tick. It's crazy.
Oh, yeah. I'm in the middle of a rebrand right now. So like going through what different colors bring out and like different emotions and stuff. I'm like, that is crazy. I didn't know that about like the colors. I was just like, I don't know. I'll pick colors that I like and maybe other people will like them too.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love that. That's so exciting. I'm kind of like on the cusp of getting a rebrand. I just haven't had like the time yet, but it sounds so much fun. I used to be a graphic designer, so like all of that sounds like very fun to me.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so if someone wants to know more about you, connect with you, any like further learning, training from you, where can we find you online?
Yeah, well, as any good millennial, I am all over Instagram. I'm on there day and night, probably too much. But yeah, on Instagram, you can find me all heart photo. And that's HEART, heart like your heart. A lot of people think that my name is John Hart for some reason. I was like, nope. Just it's a different name. But yeah, Instagram, all heart photo, for more like business educational type stuff. allheartphoto.com/education. I have a bunch of resources there. And then I also host a podcast, which you are on. So people can check that out. The Light and Dark Photography Podcast. Go check out episode 137, I believe. Was your episode. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
All right, dude. Thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I loved getting to chat today.
Absolutely, dude. You're the best.
Okay, that was so much fun to re-listen to that. That was, like I said, that was years ago. I should probably look up the date, but I think it was like 2022, somewhere around there. We may have mentioned it at some point, but yeah, you can also tell that it's dated because I said that my podcast was the Light and Dark Photography Podcast, which I have rebranded to the Wisdom and the Tangents Podcast years ago. So, but yeah. Thanks again, Nathan Chansky, for having me on the show. And I loved the conversation. Nate's doing great things out there for the photography community. If you don't know him, you do now after this conversation. And you should definitely go check him out. Nathan Chansky, NathanChansky. There was the HIN. Nope. Okay. I need to stop spelling. Nathan Chansky, the way that it sounds, except it ends in an I instead of a Y. There you go. So much easier. But go check him out. I also have his Instagram and podcast and website linked in the show notes. Nate, thanks for having me on the show, and thanks for letting me repurpose this for one of my own podcasts. All right. See y'all next week. Until then. Oh, wait. Skirt. I forgot to tell you about what's going on Patreon this week. So Patreon on Friday, 11 a.m. Is whenever we meet up, Central, 9 Pacific, 10 Eastern, 5 Lisbon time in the evening. But this Friday, what we're doing is I'm going to be doing a posing breakthrough or walkthrough of different poses that I use during engagement sessions, during weddings, during family sessions. So if there are any specific photos that you see on Instagram that you would like me to break down, just comment on it and be like, hey, break this one down, or send it to me in a DM, or comment a unicorn emoji, and I will know what that means. But yeah, I'm going to be breaking down some of my photos and how I positioned them, how I gave them different prompts, or what we were doing in order to get that photo. So that's going to be on Patreon this Friday, 11 a.m. live Central. Y'all have an amazing week. Until next time, keep creating and keep making the world a better place. Bye, y'all.